Okay, looks like we are up everywhere. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to something I have not done in a minute, and that is some painting, dude. I have not done a painting stream in a little while. I have, however, changed some of my setup here. For those of you who don't know, we've been multi-streaming on YouTube and Twitch, so you can watch on whichever platform you prefer. But also now I've actually got a reference monitor over here near the painting desk that I can monitor said thing at. So that is useful. I might make some modifications to this as time goes on, but at least in the immediate right now, I've actually got reference of both. In a perfect world, I could... A wireless stream deck would be fantastic. I don't know if that exists. A wireless stream deck would be. But I think everything looks good. Like I said, I haven't done this in a minute, but I think everything's good on Twitch. Everything looks good on YouTube. Actually, I have to turn around and look at my other computer, which is part of why this was a problem beforehand. I think everything's good. So, all right. What's up, Annie? Oh, man. I haven't not been painting, but just for reference, we might be doing these a little more often because there's a bunch of Elder Scrolls stuff. Paint. That's not all the stuff either. I've got a little pile here that I haven't organized into their respective bases and stuff. I've got some stuff already on cups, paint. Got more stuff printing. There's some stuff they haven't even put out yet from the chapter 2 thing, so there's going to be some paint. So maybe doing these will keep me what it is, you know what I mean. Now thankfully these DWEMER are really easy to paint, and I could kind of just knock them out really quick. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these. I hate this with everything, but they just have one little peg. It's their only point of contact. I'm going to go ahead and get the two things that are not gold. Then we will get some Earthshade on them, and then we'll work on the base, which I believe we've got 3 spider bases, and we've got 3 sphere bases and 4 spider bases. So we will deal with those while the Earthshade. But I need... We're not using the trusty foot today. For those of you who know, I do still have the trusty foot. It's just got paint in it. We're going to use this guy because he's clean. Dump out some of this. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the green mat. It's just the mat that is currently on the desk. Want to get another one of the gray mats. I think it looks cleaner and it's bigger, but left my paper towel. Hold on. Not that you guys won't be able to hear me, but give me a second. Yep. Left my paper towel in the room. Gotta have a paper towel to dry off my brushes. Okay. So, these DWEMER, I wish I didn't already take them all downstairs, but I did. I've finished some of these. And they're basically, not that the speed paint really shows, their metallics are pretty opaque, so the zenithal doesn't really show through in most cases, but I just zenithal all the things regardless of how I'm going to paint them, just in case I want to use contrast paints. So basically all of the DWEMER stuff is just getting a straight up coat of Hoplite Gold into an Agrax Earthshade, and then a dry brush with the only other gold paint that I have is Game Color Gold, which these are the older colors, and I hate these paint. These bottles are better. I actually really like these. I don't know what it is about these paints, but for this application, it's fine. Grab. Try not to spill this time. Anyways, I am kind of tempted to go ahead and Earthshade those, then gold those, and then do the bases, just so there's some... You know what? We're going to do that, actually. Before we gold anything, we are going to Agrax Earthshade the stuff that we can. I think that's going to give us a bit of a smoother thing. Yeah, that's fair. I've noticed a lot of people, it's like you either get to see them or you get to see the painting stuff, but it feels weird to like talk to people and you can't see me. And I typically am streaming in the 21:9 anyways, so. Take a big ol' brush. Art. Not super worried about where this goes. I just don't want it to pool super bad. And we're gonna kind of dry brush back over this anyways. But these little spiders, even though they're small, they take a minute because they got so many angles and faces. I'm gonna do my best to keep this relatively upright, just so mess with the pulling that I want to happen happening. No, fun part is I'm hoping that because this is slightly more watery than paint, take as long, because getting full coverage on these little dudes takes a minute. There's always an angle that you end up realizing that you missed. Now, I kind of went on like a painting marathon last year, and then I just hard stopped on the painting for a while. It wasn't until recently that I've kind of had the inkling to want to do some painting. So, baby step our way back in with some quality speed. I'd kind of gotten to the point I was enjoying like a happy middle ground of speed paint and what's up, Nero? Speed paint and oh, Nero with the raid. Oh shit, man! I see you. Thanks, man. All you gamer folks. You probably had no idea what the hell I'm doing, but we're doing it. Yep, sorry about that. I've not messed with those settings yet on Nightbot. Sorry. They keep telling me to, and I just haven't done it. To be honest, that's my bad. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. Y'all got questions or anything about what on earth I'm doing, you can feel free to ask. I will try to answer. Kind of doing all this maintenance painting, really, because it doesn't really take any effort. It's just has to be done. All right, Nero, I'll see you later. Appreciate you. So gotta play some WoW later. Slacking. Feel like I'm almost kind of done. Ooh. Also, have a shiny new FDM printer coming, primarily for tabletop stuff. Which, those of you on Twitch, I will probably, it's set up down in the game room. I think I'm almost to the point of starting back up doing some hobby, like some tabletop streams down there. I think I've got it set up to multi-stream down there, so I'll be probably doing that on Twitches. Soon. Yeah, so I've got a Bamboo Labs P1S? I think it's the P1S. Coming to replace my older printers. The 3D printing world, I would kind of compare to, like, I don't know, the original Xbox to like Xbox 360 in terms of like generational jump. The technology for FDM especially, it's just progressed so much further that the Ender 3 and the other printers that I had are just, they just can't keep up. And they're old and they just have problems, and I'm tired of dealing with them, so we're just gonna replace them with something shiny and new. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how much I believe it. The claim is 15 minutes from box to print. That seems optimistic, but I also know that Bamboo Labs has created a good reputation. So I'm half curious to do a video when I get it, from unboxing to see how long it takes to get something printing. But I'm also really impatient when I get shinies in the mail. I just want to open them, so it takes a lot of restraint for me to do them. Well, thankfully for me, a particular benefactor assisted, so you know how that goes. Not as bad for me. I wanted to split it, and he would not let. Early birthday present for me, I suppose. Yeah, I'm I'm excited. Trying to decide if I want to risk the plastic poisoning to put it in my room up here. Y'all are cropped, but it'd be like right over there. It is an enclosed printer, but technically there are still toxins with an FDM printer. Not near as bad as a resin printer, but it's not exactly recommended. So, yeah. Many angles and surfaces, and then the lighting, some of it looks different. I think that's all of the fighters. They essentially just need to dry and then get a generous brushing. One of those legs is not actually attached. They're all like this. Some of them are just closer stuck to it than the other. Because on the actual bases, there's like these little plug-in points. So I didn't glue them together just in case that becomes kind of fiddly. And then in some cases, the other leg is actually, oh, well, you can see that. In some cases, the other leg is actually attached to the base. So, I wonder if I can clamp this dude. Yeah, that might work. There's a loud-ass motorcycle outside, so if you hear that, apologies. Squeezing this, trying to stop him from falling over, essentially. Like it's almost to get some shade. I would say I've gone through more bottles of this than anything, but some of those have just been spilled. It would still technically be a truce, but contact. Might have to get the bottom of him at another time, but to be fair, that is the least important part of him. Fine. And some of these, I'm kind of doing multiple passes, not to add paint. It's actually to soak up some of the. So in some cases where it's little details of kind of caught more than I wanted, I'll just soak it up with it. Some cases don't get enough. Yeah, I think it's actually Army Painter that makes a product called Dip It or something. That's essentially wash that you just like dunk. You just dunk him fully into something. That seems like it would not work. Like, is it better than nothing? Maybe. But like, just the amount of pulling and really kind of unpleasant things that you get with a brush, I could only imagine. Like, that's live with that. God, my thumb hurts from like squeezing the sides of this clamp together. Now you could also do this in non-metallic metal. I have tried a few times and I'm not very good at it, much less doing a whole model in it. His sword would probably be a good spot to practice at. Got big defined blade edges, but we've got 8,300 models, so I'm not gonna be too picky. Want a bit more definition, but that's okay. All right, so I could actually set him aside to dry. We get the really not fun part of doing that again, but actually having to get coverage with paint on dudes. Also, I did the giveaway winners technically last night, but this morning there's a community post, and those of you who won were responded to on the actual post. So, don't bother trying to put these on there. I'm just gonna deal with clampy. This. What a pain. And actually, I'm gonna paint the bottom of this before I even put him in there. I might mess it up a little bit, but again, it's on the bottom. Don't worry about it. So, let's see you guys. This. Yeah, you're gonna hear my little mixer fiddle. Anyways, this isn't perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. These speed paint metallics, sometimes I'll pop the top off and stick a stir stick in there and break up some of the pigment, but let's do this the old fashioned way for a second. Yeah, this is This is Lord of the Rings lo-fi music by Phil Astronaut. This is almost always when I'm streaming in here what I'm playing, just because it is pleasant, and then with like the occasional sounds from the movies and stuff. Okay, little ball guy. Sometimes I forget to do a once over for supports, and sometimes some supports make it through, so we'll just... I'm not super duper particular about like the whatever of the actual model, but like I don't want to miss crazy stuff. I'm just using a big old brush for doing this kind of stuff because the precision of it kind of irrelevant.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
Fill in down here. You're not really gonna see this, so I'm not super worried about it. Something. Nothing. Now, come on in here and get a cramp in my thumb from pinching him inside of this little thing. This, I would absolutely be a little bit more liberal on. Just get it all on here, because by the time we do the Agrax Earthshade and the dry brush, this isn't super important. It just needs to cover, essentially. We used to do these on every Monday, depending. I might try to get back to doing that. I would have actually done this yesterday, but I did not have any models primed, and nobody wants to watch me prime models. So, and you got the airbrush, and it's a whole. And typically, doing these, I just paint one thing. This is a little different because of just the nature of what it is that I'm actually painting, and that they're kind of just batched slop paint in a sense. They're all painted the same way. They're all kind of one big base coat just because of characters that they are. Again, you could non-metallic metal and make these take a lot of effort. I think when it comes to having a large quantity of stuff on the shelf, I will take the easy, quick, satisfying wins to keep that motivation going, moving through the project. Because, man, I can only imagine how long it would take to on metallic metal everyone. I might be able to show you. Just a second. Let me finish coding this guy. I'll see if I could actually flip my base camp around. I can show you specifically what it is. But it is, in essence, a metal letter organizer that has little metal drawers that have cork sheets in them. That's what I was showing at the beginning with all the backlog. I just pulled one of those drawers out. But they're essentially just sliding shelves. But they're tall enough that you could fit a lot of different minis in there. Obviously, some of them have been too big to fit. But for the most part, it fits. And in this case, where I'm doing like large print volumes, I can't exactly paint fast enough to keep up with the quantity of things that I'm printing. And it just helps be a little more organized and not have unfinished models all over the desk. Make sure I get into all these little creases and crevices. And it's like as stuff dries, you start to see the color different. Realize just how much stuff you missed. Isn't stuff on the bottom. I think I got it all. Obviously, we'll see shortly. I've got another one. Let me take this off. Look. Let's see how to do this. So this thing is a letter organizer. Get out of my way. And it's just cork shelves, but it's tall enough, you can see, to keep all the unpainted stuff in there. So like this Kill Team stuff, it's going to be a while before I get to that. Some Legion stuff that I need to update, essentially. But it's pretty big. It's bigger than I thought, actually. And then that's y'all up there. So it just helps not essentially have a bunch of it sitting all over the deck. Which is typically what I always did, and then I figured, what the hell, why? Yeah, I would like to get that reference monitor on a wall mount, but then I also still needs to be able to connect to my computer all the way on the other side of the room, so it's good enough. It's better than when I was doing this before. I had an iPad that I would just monitor chat on, but doing the multi-streaming, I need the combined chats. So it would have been a pain in the butt to do that on an iPad, I think. Shortly. This. Also considering doing another like narrative series for Call to Arms, and Orwin's take YouTube. He has a homebrew kind of version of the Into the Dark rule set, but for kind of like a keep or a castle or a fort. I think it might be kind of interesting to try to incorporate something like that, because I think you could make the sets look interesting, and you could also have freeing prisoners lead to expanding your party size. Sorry, I'm trying to see back into the... God. I think there could be some interesting, like, Stormcloak, Imperial type of play. Work pretty well in that setting. Now, do I have the stuff to properly represent exactly what I just talked about? Probably not, but worth a shot. Also, it is somewhat official, I think, that we will be trying to travel to Adepticon this year. It'll be the first time that I've ever gone. We've talked about it almost every year, and it's just never quite worked out. It's going to be a trek to get up there. And we're not going to be able to get up there until super duper late on that Friday. So we'll probably be walking around the exhibit hall on Saturday. And I'm very much so looking forward to that. I think it's going to be cool to see all the games and have their developers, and in a lot of cases I feel like it's a lot of like indie stuff that these people have, you know, put all their time and effort into making. So I'm excited to see all that stuff. There's no shot if we end up making it I don't leave with something. But no, this is in Milwaukee. Turn you off, compressor. No, this is up in Wisconsin, so it's about 12 hours away. It'll be a trek, but we always talk about going somewhere near the end of the month for my birthday, which is March 26th. And we talked about it, and it's just never worked out. I think financially, anything should work out this year. I think we've got most of the details squared away. Now it's just confirming some stuff, but I think like 90% sure that's what's happening, so that'll be fun. So, all that being said, if you see me, feel free to come and talk about how terrible my painting is at times. Man, I know there's some missed stuff in there, but I can't. Although if you can't get to it, odds are you'll never see it, to be fair. Bro. Okay. Hold your horse. Oh no, all the airbrush paint build finally sabotaged. Okay. Fella forward. That much. Hang in there, just need to tiny little bit. And like I said, see all these spots that I missed now. Everything. All right. Dump him out. And this little fella off. Okay, so I'm gonna let those dudes all dry. We are gonna hit some bases. So I always have a hard time deciphering what's actually on these bases. I mean, that's simple enough, but like, there's always like some pottery stuff. I don't know why I picked pallid bone, and that's just the color I've been doing it in, but like, this little guy, I don't know what that is. That's sort of pillar. I don't know. We're gonna start with a stippling of some grays to get our concrete, and then we'll go from there. I'm probably gonna basically just do the same thing on the gold parts, and then they'll just get painted over in gold with the speed paint, and it should. So we're gonna use these two little right here. Start with the dark gray, and this is since I'm just stippling this, I'll just put it in this little guy, and it's not a big deal. Oh, that's why I stopped using this brush, even though it's closer to the size that I want. Need some, I don't know. Give me, oh, knock y'all off the. So basically just jabbing this. It's always kind of a weird part of how much you get on your brush, but I mean, essentially we're just creating some texture. So it doesn't need to be super, not a perfect science. We're not dry brushing technically, probably blocking to a certain extent, but we'll worry about distinguishing the different things on these bases once we're at a little bit of a later stage, but for now, kind of give it all this texture. And that, okay. And to a certain extent, this is technically, it's close to dry brushing, but it is a little bit different as far as the texture it kind of creates, but it catches a lot of the same things, which is also why I'm not super worried about painting the gold leg a little bit differently than how I painted the rest of it. I think it'll all come out in the way. Looking for a perfect coverage. I'm looking for a kind of a spongy coverage. Okay, there's our first step. Dark gray out of them. Light gray, and then we'll probably do like a dry brush, a slight dry brush of top of this. And this, because this is primarily the last of the layers, this is where I try to be maybe a little bit more light-handed, just so I don't end up with like a super flat gray aesthetic, essentially. Because again, the main thing I want, the color and the overall, presentation is one thing, but I am mainly looking for texture. Stuff that's going to get painted over. I might try to hit a little bit heavier here. Okay. Good. A lot of these, I'm not doing it with the DWEMER stuff. A lot of this serves as a base, and then I'm doing like a snow mixture in kind of splotches on top of it. So it kind of all adds its layers and gets covered up. Not entirely, you know what I mean. But you can knock out a bunch of these really quickly, and good enough stone. little heavier. That just is what it is. Sometimes you just a little too much. And yes, technically the DWEMER spiders are in batches of 3, but I printed 4, mainly because I had some misprints, and I figured I might as well make use of the parts that successfully printed. Just print the parts that failed, so kind of part of how I ended up with 4 frostbite spiders as well. This is a weird base. There's not there's not a ton of stone, but it's like a lot of ruin. We'll just feel this one, but we'll give it the same treatment anyways. Although, looking at this, I guess I printed the wrong base at some point, because I've got... Oh no, yeah, it's these 3. This is the duplicate. Yeah. Like, wait, maybe I misprinted one of the wrong bases also. Okay. Get some brush. And we'll use a little bit of white also, just as a little bit of extra. I don't think it's super needed. Gets a little tinted. I have some gray still in the brush, but it's okay. I almost don't want it visible. I kind of want it to catch some of the stone edges, just to give it a tiny little bit of depth. Also, if y'all would like me to shut the hell up and just paint the damn thing, I could do that too. I'm kind of narrating myself, aren't I? I think before I do anything on this, I could probably go ahead and agrax the other 3 sphere guys, and then I could punch in the gold bits on, chip away these more while these guys dry, and then we could dry brush all of the DWEMERs because there are a bunch of these guys. So yeah, it'll take a second, but let's deal with this frustrating little ball guy. Which one did I paint? Yeah, I'll try. People just seem to enjoy watching other people suffer. Filling paint is an easy way to do that. At least this one's almost empty. Really not to knock this dude little. God, my thumb. Hey. All Annie's fault. Goddamn dude just jumped off. He just kamikazed right into that fucking paint bottle, dude. Oh my god. Thankfully, again, like I said, it's mostly empty. Got a little, fine, don't worry about it. This little fella said stay his ass in my shitty little makeshift handle. Yeah, if that was a full bottle like it was the last time, oh boy, that would have been over a bunch of stuff. I don't even know what the hell I was painting. Got to pop out. Stop it. Son of a... What's like not supposed to paint like... Was done with this one if he just stopped jumping out of my little clamp. I think that's everything, but to be fair, I kind of lost track. Get out. We'll last another one.
Over now.
Kind of doesn't help. Basically, I have to make... I'm not saying. I refused. Let's just say I'm not helping the situation when it comes to the slipperiness of this little... to paint lightly. Jump out. Actually, what I was talking about earlier with the spiders and having extras and failed prints, and actually why I have 3 of these spheres printed. Should have just left the one to burn instead of rescuing him from having his base. But heavy on this. Because probably hurt to have a little bit of the which move my weight a little bit. Feel him trying to jump out. Of attaching this dude actual base and painting him. No, I want to be able to paint him separately. Light. Got everything. Everything enough. Went for the paint bottle again. Something, I know it, I just saw it. There. Yep. There we go. Oh, you could. Complaining. Stupid sphere. Woo! Toasty. Apparently it's not just playing games that makes it toasty. Okay. So punch in some golds, some reds, some tans. We'll do the dirt last because if it covers stuff a little bit, deal. I really don't know what this rim is supposed to be. I don't know if it's supposed to be gold or not. Probably actually just pull up their reference and see. N-E-E. trying to do this without keyboard. Well, they have whatever that is in it. It kind of looks gold, actually. Maybe it's like one of those little spawning hatches. In that case, it probably would be gold. We'll do something to differentiate a little, I think. But like, all of this is kind of gold. All DWEMER shit. Same area, so all kind of the same. Break back out. Break back out this gold. We're gonna probably use a bit smaller of a brush. Find kind of a crappy little brush. Do this. That one. Stirring up all the dust. Work. Okay, we're gonna do this guy last. We got two of these. Another reason I kind of want a bigger mat is because this is small enough. Its footprint is small enough that typically my arms are almost resting on its edge, and I'm a whole lot more likely to somewhat cautious. Brown area. It's not brown yet, but it will be. Should get mostly covered if it gets a little sloppy, but right the first time I won't have to worry about covering it up. Well, not covering it up. Right, so we got a leg. Got elbow or something. Little bit of color around this edge, but not worried about it being perfect because it kind of disappears. And for any of those just joining, we are currently waiting on the actual models to dry so that we can dry brush them. And they'll be basically good to go. Bouncing around between the model. That's good enough. This one, I think, just had ruin and a couple of cogs. Else in. Try to be a little careful with not be able to cut it super easily. But again, it's the base. It's gonna kind of end up covered mostly by the little model, so blocking in the broad strokes, if you will. Little guy just has, three of these just have cracks on them. Hate that overflowed, but that should be, again, I don't really care if this is perfect, but we want it to be somewhat clean. Already filled some paint, so how clean could it be? But you get what I Wait for that to dry. Do some extracts on the gold. Forgot about this little fella. I'm thinking about just doing the rim of this gold. Because again, I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at, but it feels like a spawning thingy. Little rib bit for their pleasure. You know, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Never mind. Okay. So next, actually, are these rugs that I'm even looking at, or are these? They look just like the rugs, but they look awful. I already closed that. About it. It does look very flat. I'm pretty sure they're rugs. I'm gonna go with rugs because it's gonna tie them into everything else. So I've been doing a fairly lazy slaughter red all over the rugs, and then I'll kind of loosely dry brush over the pattern with a flat straight brush, and kind of hit the gold trim of the rug, mainly because again I'm going for general thing, not professional rating again. Much of that. Lather it in there. Even though we're gonna hit this with another color, carefully. Lock that in. See enough. While we're here, we might as well go ahead and hit these weird. It almost looks like Nordic ruin kind of material, and I don't know why. Doing that bone. So kind of ends up. It almost ends up too close to the color of the dirt. Those of them that have dirt, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. Already done it on some, so for the sake of My thought was more like dirty stone, something. Just for a little bit of extra interest, I'm gonna rocks because they look a little more obvious. Leave right here. And that works. Right. Easy enough. Technically, all the DWEMER could probably be dry brushed. And I think we might actually do that. But before we do that, we've got a date with some more dirt water. Full dirt in a cup. Go ahead and hit these gold. Just a little bit closer to that DWEMER bronzy gold for, and we do the dry brushing over top just to give it some edge. This is almost exactly why I have a hard time throwing away brushes. I mean, it's like I'm gonna be jabbing away at something this with a shiny new brush. And all the old brushes take up all this. Trying to be careful to not just completely flood out the tiny little chambers that are on these tracks. Only kind of so much you can do to avoid that, given what it is. Now, all of these get to just sit and hang out for a minute. This guy up gets a little too overzealous. All that can sit. Now, for the fun. I kind of hate dry brushing with metallics because I feel like it gets guy. We're in the home stretch now.
Go back, Sam! Going to Mordor alone. Of course you are. And I'm coming with you!
Read super well. You guys, but such a different. We'll just see. Oh, you still get kind of all the depth of the shade, but it kind of brings out that shine. Just like that. Done. done. DWEMER are some of the more satisfying things to paint, just because, again, don't take a whole lot of, I don't want to say skill, but like they're all done in big strokes. You're not doing like detail painting. They come together pretty quick. The coloring that you get out of them is satisfying, so especially if you're relatively new, you could get quick, pretty satisfying, as I think. There's also some like contrast paint combinations I know that people will do. This is just what I'm doing, which again, for those of you joining, started out Zenithal, Hoplite Gold Speed Paint, let it dry, Agrax Earthshade all over, let it dry, and then this is just a polished gold from Game Color, so I think it's the older one, and we're just kind of giving it a once over, kind of hitting all the high point. Give it back some of that shine, give it back a little bit of that edge. Comes together really well, I think. Four shiny gold little fellas. Ah, now for these. I'm just gonna try to hold these. I'm probably gonna get paint on my hands, and that's just, there's already paint on my hands, actually, to be fair. That's just the way of things. But the main thing that I am trying to be somewhat conscious of is rubbing paint on. That's better. It'll probably be right.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
Let's see. Enough. It's good enough for government work. You know what they say. That'll work. Ooh. Going for realistically, age over an hour and a half. Almost. Definitely is done. That. That. You need to hit a little bit of dry brushing on base elements. But I'm going to use a smaller thing for that. I think there's just the one that I just used. The one I just. Nobody ever said it weren't. Attempt to miss everything else. For the most part, I'm looking for a tiny little bit of shine. Stuff. And no, I'm not even going to bother trying to dry brush the tiny little track. It just get all over. And I don't really. That's why. I'm mainly looking for the leg, just so it matches the rest of the body. Main 4. So I need to do dirt, and I need to do the gold on these rugs, which I hate doing, but let's just go ahead and rough this out using the exact same gold that I dry brushed with. And we get a little baby flat brush. cheap little shitty brush here. I'm gonna put it right on the edge. Appreciate the sub. And basically, to kind of block in the this is kind of, I wouldn't say like an edge highlight. It almost reminds me more of like a leaf etching. Essentially just like a, I don't know, it's a weird dry brush. I don't know what you call this. Because some of it you are kind of intentionally like putting on the lines, but you're kind of using the same idea that you would have with an edge highlight so that it only hits the edge, and then in some cases you just mess it all up and it's not that big. There you go. Gold trim. Right? It ain't perfect, but it's good enough. And thankfully these rugs are relatively small. And sometimes this is kind of satisfying. This one. But it's also like a weird mixture of how much paint you actually have on there so you don't like smudge everything up, having enough to actually have it cover. Also, again, this gold paint really kind of sucks and it seems almost too thin. But that's good. Now we just gotta do some dirt, which looks like a little bit on that one, a little bit on that one. We'll just do it on all of them. And do this relatively simply also, and we're going to do it the same way that we did the concrete, but now we can just kind of put on top of the other stuff. So I'm using bootstrap brown, and we're going to stipple this.
There's always been a Baggins living here under the hill.
Teeny tiny brush again, make sure it's dried out. Because of stippling this, you can almost kind of fade it as you want, make it darker as you want, which is part of why I was doing it this way, because I could cover stuff a little bit easier and it looked like paint by numbers-y. It's funny, when I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you in chat, but I'm not looking at you.
Welcome to Rivendell.
passive brown on all the dirt spots. A lot of dirt here. And also, you do still get a little bit of that original texture that you kind of punched in with the grays, because it kind of reads through. Because you're stippling it and it's not completely opaque, unless you wanted it. Got so much dirt. Well, I guess technically I still need to paint that tiny little area with something. Only lighting on that one a little bit weird. Got some extra there, but that's. I think I'm okay not overdoing that just in case. I don't want to muddy it up too. Worry about that any more than that. All looks like dirt almost. That. Ooh, ton of water. The hard way. And now, past this. Tiny little bit of skeleton bone over top of that brown, just This little guy. I'm gonna try to very light, just enough catch some of those hard edges, but I don't want to tint dirt too much. Kind of careful. I'm kind of looking for those hard edges and specifically trying to hit those so they catch that paint, but without having to like get the kind of chalky finish all over it. And use this as a blending step to kind of that's some nice dirt we got there. Look at that. Hard on some of these softer spots. Think bases are basically to go. Is that a base pun? Not intended. Okay, let's just get that on up out of the way. I'm not gonna glue these guys on because that would be tedious. But what we can do, actually, let me see. All right, so we got eye up, pokey hands. We got eye up, pokey hands, and less pokey hands. Praying mantis hands. Just leave. Other kind of hard part is test fitting these guys without messing them up now that there's paint involved, but whatever, you get the idea. So even though I didn't paint that leg exactly the same as the rest of the legs, it kind of all still comes together the same. So again, that's part of why I was not super worried about that. Also, I'm gonna put that I'm blind. Is it not on the shelf anymore? Did I already bring it down? Stupid. Oh, wonder it's over there with the browns. Grab a little bit of gray and stick it in here just to tint that a different color. Again, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's gonna be that now. So I will go through the hassle of getting the rest of these dudes on their bases. These dudes kind of look like they're zooming around, so they're gonna go on rack, which these bases aren't the most exciting things, but they, you know, I get what they were. This guy going other direction. I do love how kind of easy it is to get good results with I think this feels the most interesting. That. And obviously all these guys will get their will get glued down and get their base rims painted. But just for reference sake, that is technically, I had a little bit of it done, but that is technically 7 minis in a little over 2 hours, basically to finish. Honestly, we might do this just to keep pace. Might not wait to do this once a week because I've still got so many things to and I've got so many things to paint that hell, I'm not even opposed to trying some wacky stuff. So if y'all want to see me try to paint something in a more traditional sense, like if you want to see this mage painted in some sort of way, I'm not opposed to doing that. I don't know what we'll be painting tomorrow, but we'll probably be painting tomorrow. Keep pace and get these things done. But that is going to do it for now. I will probably not be streaming anything tonight game-wise, just today. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do some more. That's gonna do it. I appreciate y'all sitting here and hanging out and chatting with me and yapping and watching me spill paint. But that is it. I will see y'all.
The power of the dark side.